Welcome back to the Business Experience Show. We have professional heavyweight boxer David Rodriguez. Also on the phone with us is Bardia Garamani, COO of International Sports Agency. David, what advice do you have for someone who follows your career, they want to be in boxing? What advice would you have to them if you could do it all over again and you could mentor someone? This is the way to go into the boxing world.
Don't do it.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Just
Learn from my mistakes and move on. No, I mean, it's really a brutal process.
Right.
I think, a lot of guys in boxing, it's you got to put in 110%, no doubt about it.
Right.
You got to be in the gym. It's 24/7. It really is.
A job.
It is, and it's like you can't concentrate on all the different areas. You got to be in the gym 24/7. You got to eat and sleep boxing, and that's it. And that's why these promoters and managers have such an easy time taking advantage of these guys, because their job is to get in the ring and beat the guy and get out, and everything should be taken care of. But in boxing, of course, it doesn't work that way.
But if that's your dream, and that's what you say you love it, then that's exactly what
Then you'll find a way.
If you were born to do this, then you've lived out your dream already.
I am. I'm inspiring other people to take control of their own control of their own career.
Well, and I've got a different perspective, and I'll let you know that I was the president of a minor league baseball team, and I was accused of exploiting young athletes, paying them $700 a month to play baseball while they were pursuing their dream also. And quite frankly, it's supply and demand.
Yeah.
There were lots of kids that wanted to play baseball, and in my league,
And would do it for that.
and that would do it for that, exactly right. And they weren't making big money, but quite frankly, in the minor league level, we weren't either. If we weren't selling enough hot dogs and sodas, we weren't making any money either. And so that was the business.
So now my position when I was coming up. I just wanted to fight, and it was the girls, and it was that, and that's what I wanted, and the money, yeah, that helped. But I was just into the image and fighting, and I love fighting, and I love boxing, and all that. And then as I started getting older, I'm like, wait a minute. I need to pay my car. I need my mortgage.
Right.
Then all that started coming in. I'm like, okay, no, something needs to change.
Yeah, but as a young fighter, I mean, there are a lot more fighters than there are fights and matches, and part of the value of the entertainment of boxing is the promotion, getting people to buy the tickets, getting whatever media to cover it, getting the sponsorship. There's a lot there, and it takes a while before you can distinguish yourself between one of the many young fighters, and now you have that. I mean, you've built a record that is, you should be taken very seriously.
I feel like the next 3 fights are going to be my biggest fights of my life. I just need to get my knee correct. All this stuff, this timeout, I believe, God put this in my life to learn from and figure out other parts of my career.
David, they're not just going to be the biggest fights because of who you're going to fight, but it's what you're going to do with your brand in the next 3 fights that you'll be able to build on afterwards.
You're 100% correct, and definitely that needs work. Obviously.
And as we talk about brand, and that's something that people throw around, they talk about how a person or a product is identified a certain way. One thing that you have that could use a lot of help is positioning. They talk about marketing, and marketing is very important, and there are people on this panel that can talk about that. But you're different, and you can position yourself so that you are number one in your field and get somebody's attention or the right people's attention to get the shot that you so rightly deserve. It's like 7-Up could never compete with Coca-Cola, so they became the Uncola, and they were number one as the Uncola.
Right.
Avis tried harder. The Whopper was have it your way. That's positioning so that you and you with the American-Mexican connection, it's very important. And without tapping into the patriotic or the racial side, I mean, boxing has a history of the Great White Hope.
Exactly. And that's what MMA took off with.
Right. And
they created the Great White Hype and made it a sport, really. I mean, that's honestly most of their success right there. They appeal to the white suburban kids.
And Jerry Cooney and Chuck Wepner, they got their shots, more shots than probably should have, because of the positioning that they had.
Right.
That some promoter got behind them because that's what sold tickets and sold television.
Now boxing is appealing more to the Latin people. You know what I mean? And that's really where it's appealing the most now. That's why you have like Budweiser and Miller's sponsoring MMA, and Tecate and Corona are going to boxing.
But don't you see, with your brand and the positioning of your brand, you could put yourself in a position where you'd have to get the shot that you so richly deserve.
We're working in that. And David, you're aware of that, and I honor you for being open to that. Obviously, you're not like the end all be all that. No, it's my way or the highway.
No, I'm open to all of it. Of course, I'm.
You want your career to get better. You're
right.
You're the oldest you've ever been. You really want this. You want the next 3 fights of your life.
And the youngest I'll ever be, so I better.
That's right.
There you go. You see, he has accounted for everything.
And even if we were going to argue with you, we wouldn't dare argue with you. Not while you're in studio.
I'll ruin the studio.
But one thing I was going to add to that, David, I mean, just in my years of being an agent and doing what I do marketing-wise, you don't even have to be the heavyweight champion. You don't have to be.
That's right.
The marketing dollars come if you're just marketable.
Right.
Now, I mean, everybody knows Anna Kournikova. I don't think that young lady won a tournament in her life.
You're right.
But she was one of the most endorsed tennis players in the world. So for you, I mean, you have a lot of facets that you can go ahead and market, which is being Mexican-American.
Right.
Number two, you're very well-spoken, so you can obviously do commercials and whatnot. But I think what you bring to the table is that connection with not only the Mexican-Americans, but the young up-and-coming fighters, MMA fighters, and actually start pulling some of the MMA guys. I don't think you're willing to go to MMA from just speaking with you in the last few. I think you could start pulling more fighters from the MMA to the boxing world by branding who you are and potentially opening up locations of boxing gyms that are yours that start catering to, maybe disadvantaged financially, lower income, and starting to make a brand and build yourself. And from there, you can kind of keep moving forward. I don't know if you've ever thought of that, but that just popped in my head. You're really, you can be the poster boy.
Yes,
in all reality.
And he's good looking. I mean, everyone.
Oh, wow, thank you.
Yes, David Rodriguez. If you go to NinoBoxing.com, I mean, I know you're really enjoying
now the fighters really want to beat me up.
I know you're really enjoying your visit to Southern California this week. Your record's amazing, and perhaps you haven't received the media attention you deserve because Hollywood doesn't really care what happens outside of LA and New York. Frankly, David, your record and career might have simply outgrown the areas you are in. Have you considered a move to the area?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, of course. I would love to live in California.
I know you're loving it out here.
I just have to train in Vegas. My trainers are in Vegas.
Right.
I train with Mayweather's trainer, and my team I have a very good team in Vegas, so I'd have to go out there for training camp. But I always go back to Texas to visit my family because, that's where my roots are. But I am starting. I am beginning to want to expand and get in the area or the place that I need to be to grow.
Right.
And I would think, honestly, California would be it. So yeah, I a lot of things right now are just growing on me, and I'm really starting to look at all avenues, and California is one of them. So
yeah, you need to figure out what you want to be when you grow up.
Right, I haven't grown up yet. That's for sure.
You're gonna force
you're going to move into the next phase of your life,
right.
And in order to be prepared, the time to think about it is now or before.
You're right.
Well, not only that, I think that the important part is you got a balance here to play by self-promoting and being a boxer, because like you said earlier, 24 hours a day you're having to get ready for these 3 fights. How are you going to balance that?
Well, here's the thing: we signed with Zeffirino Entertainment, where he's promoted a lot of fights. He's had a lot of a few pay-per-view fights. So he's kind of like he does all the legwork, and so he does that side of it.
Okay.
So in other words, we're partners. I just have to see everything coming in and going out because I was really sick of being screwed over.
Right.
And I wanted to see all the numbers, and I wanted to learn the business, so that way when I get ready, and I've already signed some fighters under me to fill the card up when I'm fighting. Although we bring in other fighters from other countries and stuff like that, and we sell there, but that way I can see everything because I want to know the business now, because I want to know when I decide to exit the sport that I already have one step into something else, which is promoting, and I'm already doing it. So as I promote my own shows, I'm learning it.
Right.
I'm seeing everything. I'm seeing the numbers. I see what we got to pay for. I see the expenses. I know what we make on concessions at the gate. I know what TV pays now. And I was in awe when I learned all that because I was like, wow. I was getting nothing. You know what I mean? I was like, gosh, you were hiding this from me.
I'm amazed, though. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, had you had it done correctly the first time, and
Well, no
obviously,
fighter's supposed to know this stuff.
But Lisa, they don't want you to. No promotion wants you to. Bob Arum doesn't
but
want you to know
wouldn't you
how
have
much
someone?
money he's making.
Wouldn't you have
He's the
David
product.
Rodriguez for live if you were ethical and represented him right? Just because it's the right thing to do, and I know people don't do that.
But unfortunately, ethics is a challenging thing when it comes to sports, entertainment. It just doesn't happen.
Well, there's no
it's
transparency.
about that dollar,
No.
and
There's
they
no
rather take
transparency.
advantage of someone as long as they can, and then from there they'll go ahead and maybe give you a little here, a little there. But they're not going to give you anything without you asking for it.
Exactly.
Well, and you need to have the leverage to be able to demand certain things, and you have that now. You've earned that. You didn't have that 33 fights ago. You didn't have any leverage.
You know,
had
and
no
I
leverage.
look back at my career and I just think about everything. I'm like, I cannot believe I'm 36-0. I have 6 titles, and the NABA title, the major titles that you have to get to go for the heavyweight championship, and still virtually unknown, and still never had a shot at the Klitschko's. And I know if I was a Klitschko's, I wouldn't want to fight me either, honestly.
I will say you do, in your defense, you do have a big Facebook following. You do have, you're a magnet for people just being around you. I mean, you have a really good personality.
I should flatter you so much.
I've told you, you're very humble. You're very humble and down to earth. Don't get shy on me, David.
I'm not shy.
No, I know you're not shy. But I could even see like a TV reality show following you around before your next fight because you have a really interesting life.
I was thinking the same thing. That's one of those things to where you go to like a Mexican television station, Univision or whatever in LA, and you go ahead and pitch it to them that look at my fan base on Facebook, Twitter. I'm fighting my next fight, whoever at that time you have. You give them the information, and you make a nice little series reality show on Mexican-American TV. Doesn't have to be ESPN. But that's how you get that ball rolling, because once you get that ball rolling, now your followers go up. Next thing you know, once you go into the promotion, you might have them as a partner to televise your events.
And
yeah,
David,
the thing about me being my own promoter also is that you got to remember I have the freedom to do what I want.
Well,
right.
but you're also handicapped because sometimes it's easier to have somebody else sell you rather than have you
got to
sell
remember
yourself.
the people that I had selling me weren't doing a very good job.
It's different in Hollywood. And you're not just talking about a boxing promoter at that point. You're talking about somebody that's promoting your brand and who you are and what you bring to somebody else. And part of this now in these next few years, you're going to need to make some choices. The reality show is time consuming, and it will cut into other things that you could do. You could be a motivational speaker. There are so many things you can do right now. Do you go after certain endorsements and sponsorship? And can you possibly do it all? And the answer is probably not. You need to start saying no to some of these opportunities.
When it comes to fight time, as my friend Danny sitting there knows, it's strictly fight time. I do the media, I do the promotions, but I am strictly consumed with training. My mind is in battle mode. I'm ready to fight. I'm in a different zone. I mean, this interview would be completely different if I was coming up on a fight. It'd be very much more serious tone. I wouldn't be laughing. None of that stuff. I'm in a different mindset. I'm in a different world. So I don't get to. The only time I get to concentrate on other areas is after the fight.
Yeah. David, here's some advantages that I see for you just right out of the gate. And one, you do have the experience. Right. So being a self-promoter, you're the CEO of your company.
Correct.
You're one of the strongest pieces that you need right now is to be able to delegate. So when you're not in the business frame, you're in the boxing mindset, you can go do your thing and you can trust that the people are doing your job.
Right.
If they don't do their job, you get rid of them and you find somebody.
Well, you
got to
remember though, this is new to me. This just happened last year. 2011 was my breakout year because, right now I have 2 injuries, so I'm not doing much. So that's why I'm here.
Right, sure.
Right, but everyone still believes in you, and
right. I mean, I've already. It's amazing. It's like when I'm getting ready for a fight and everything's happening, I got all these calls, my phone's blowing up, and then when I get injured, I'm like, crickets. Where do my friends go? I have like 5 friends that maybe it's like you count on one hand, but it's just amazing. It's amazing to see both sides of how it works, and honestly, it humbles me because, I know just like anybody that's an athlete, it's going to end someday, and you know that all the glory and adulation, and when I go into an arena and I walk in, sports teams walk into an arena full of 10,000 people, 20,000 people. I walk into that alone And that to me is unbelievable to hear everybody chanting your name.
And it's for you.
And it's just the adrenaline, and then knowing that, you know, I also tell everybody boxing is such a lonely sport because when you walk into the arena, you walk in with all your trainers and everyone behind you. And then when you get in the ring, everybody gets out. And then you're just in there by yourself looking at this guy going, oh, this is for real.
I've heard you say that you have prayed for your opponents after a fight.
I pray for them before and after a fight, yes. I do, because it's a danger. They have families and they have kids. You know, they have kids, they have a family, and they need to make their money. They're gladiators, and they're just here to do what they have to do. And you know,
a business.
It is, man. And I don't wish them any harm.
But it's a brutal business. I mean, we've heard of stories, and it doesn't make the front page of the newspaper or the back sports page. But there are people that actually die in the ring.
Oh, I've seen it 3 times.
I've
encountered that 3 times.
How do you transfer your anger before you box, or how do you?
I'm just calm. I always have that. It's you have to be a calculated killer. It's not like I'm in there just, I'm going to rage and go crazy. It's not like that. No, I center my energy. It's like a meditative state. I'm in a zone. I'm very, very calm. I look through my opponent. When I get in the ring, I look through my opponent. He's just an obstacle that I need to get over. And I go in there and I do my job, and I just let it flow like water, and it just happens, and the knockout comes on its own.